Post Malone, Austin Richard Post, Postmates, friend of Jimothy Fallone, Hot Ones alumni, or alum, I don't know which word would be more suited for that. Oh yeah, he's also an artist, that's right, can't forget that part. And he has a new album out, it's called 12 Carat Toothache. It's out now, I've listened to it. I am now prepared to talk about the album. This is my first time actually talking about Post Malone on this channel, to my knowledge. I don't think he's been on any other albums I've discussed. It's been almost 3 years since his last studio release with Hollywood's Bleeding. So a bit of a wide gap here between releases. But nonetheless, I was somewhat looking forward to this album. I wasn't really anticipating that I would like it that much though, just because he's put out some singles over the past year or so that I've just not really liked that much. But you know what? I have been a fan of some of his music in the past. I think he's a very talented guy. And so I was still nonetheless looking forward to seeing what he would bring with this new project. And I'm liking the very start of it with the track Reputation, which, as it states in the title, he comes off as very self-aware of his reputation and of his celebrity status. I got a reputation that I can't deny. You're the superstar, entertain us, which to me it sounds very obvious that he's speaking to himself in that scenario. And I'm liking the dark instrumental that accompanies these lyrics. There's a piano, it sounds like there's a cello that comes in the last minute, which sounds very nice. I will say though that his vocals on this track are a bit of a shortcoming, because he does that thing that he does a lot, that like goat-like vibrato, like, I mean, it just, I don't know how else to say it. It sounds like a ghost. And it's annoying when he does that, because I think he honestly has a really good voice, and I just wish he wouldn't choose that aesthetic sometimes to present it. So even though the track does at times come off as a needlessly over-the-top emo ballad, I still enjoyed it, and I liked what it was going for. I was not really a fan of Cooped Up when it was a single, and still on this album, I'm not too crazy about it. Although I will say that I like Austin's vocals more in this one. They're a bit more cleaner, more smooth. But I just can't help but feel like this track feels very half-assed, and like it was just scrapped together really quickly, kind of last minute for the album. From the instrumental being very simple, the Roddy Ricch verse especially, who I normally like, but I feel like he really just could have done a lot better. Decent hook, I guess, but I don't know. On the whole, I'm not too entertained by this one. I'm liking the folk pop approach to the third track, Lemon Tree. And once again, I'm also liking some of these lyrics that Austin provides here. He paints a kind of interesting metaphor about how everyone picks an apple or a tangerine, but he always picks the lemon. Sort of like a thing, because you know, people say that evil is lemons. There's that evil lemon correlation, so he always gets like the bad pick. I don't know, I just kind of find it neat and a little bit unexpected coming from Austin. Although I will say that once again, his vocals are at times a bit rough on this one, like especially his inflections when he says better. The way he says the word better is, I don't know why he chose to say it that way, but I can still look past that and appreciate the track as a whole. I'm very curious to see what people think of Wrapped Around Your Finger, because it's literally an electronic version of Circles. Like, I could just see it being released on Spotify, like Circles electronic remix, and it would literally sound like this song. It's a very similar chord progression. The drums have pretty much the same kind of beats. There's a very prominent bass line as well. It's literally a ripoff of Circles. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the song doesn't really have much else to offer other than that. The next track, I Like You, has a feature from Doja Cat, and I actually think she provides one of the better features on the album. But again, it's kind of sort of like with Cooped Up. It just feels like there's something that's missing. The hook is there. There's, I guess, some chemistry between Post and Doja, although not really, honestly. And the instrumental is kind of cute, kind of quirky, but I don't know. I still feel like there's just something not there. It's hard to really place it into words. This also continues with the next track, I Cannot Be, featuring Gunna, who I think gives one of the more forgettable features on the album. And there's an interesting sort of notes on the track listing where I Like You says happier song in parentheses, and I Cannot Be is a sadder song. And it's sort of an interesting concept to have these songs back to back and have those notes in parentheses. But unfortunately, the, I guess, supposed impact that Post was probably thinking that would have on the listening experience is nowhere to be seen, because I definitely don't think anyone is gonna really take that seriously and be like, oh my gosh, a happier song, ooh, a sadder song, what does it mean? Like, no one cares. Come on, they just want to hear what Doja Cat and Gunna are gonna bring to the table. Things do pick up slightly with the next track, Insane. I'm liking the beat on this one a little bit more, and we get to hear a little bit more Post actually rapping, because really at this point he's more of a singer. He doesn't really rap as much anymore, but you hear more of that in this track, and it's kind of cool. It's not a bad one. The next track, Love Hate Letter to Alcohol, featuring Fleet Foxes, is one of the standouts for me. I liked it when it was on, when he performed it on SNL. You guys might remember that when Selena Gomez hosted and he was the musical act, and this was one of the songs he did, and at the time it was of course unreleased, and I thought like, oh, that was kind of a cool song, and I pretty much like it just as much on this album. I really like the start of it with these electro tinged harmonies that sound very nice, very pleasing and silky to the ears, and I'm liking the sound palette to this track a lot. These very pounding drums, these very thick sounding synths, boom, 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 boom. And a cool concept as well, with Austin just talking about alcohol and sort of all the benefits and all of the drawbacks that he has received from drinking alcohol. Wasting Angels was a big surprise for me, featuring the Kid Laroi. Much more of a minimalist approach musically, especially after hearing Love Hate Letter to Alcohol. And the outro to this song is absolutely huge sounding, with Post first singing and then the Kid Laroi joins him. And I mean, it sounds like there's like 10 to 20 different people singing. I don't know how they layered all, you know, only 2 people singing, and it made it sound like all these different vocals all sort of stacked on one another. And I mean, it made me want to sing along. It had a nice sort of uplifting feeling to the way it closed out. I unfortunately don't have as many good things to say about the next few tracks, Euthanasia, When I'm Alone, and Waiting for a Miracle. I think maybe they would have worked better if they were placed in the beginning of the album, but at this point, this sort of sad, emo, balladry vibes that Post is going for just come off as sort of try hard to me, and I just don't really get much from it at all. However, I do like the track One Right Now with The Weeknd. It's the second to last song on the album, and admittedly I'm not really sure why it was placed there. Also, I do think it would have fit better on a Weeknd album. Nonetheless though, I like it. I'm okay with it being on here. I think they've both got really good chemistry on this song, especially when they start singing together at the end. And the instrumental on this one, I think it's just super addictive. I'm loving the synths, the 80s inspired drums as well. Some of the lyrics are kind of dumb, you know, Post talking about how he fucked someone so good they should pay him. Like, okay, whatever. The album does also end on a semi-interesting note with what sounds like a demo recording. It's called New Recording 12, January 3rd, 2020. I'm to assume that he recorded it on that day. And even though I don't entirely understand the intent of this one being on the album as well, I didn't mind it. I thought that his vocals remind me very much of Tom York, especially like the Benz era Tom York. And yeah, I guess that's it. I've gone through all the tracks now. I would say it was a little bit better than I thought it would be, but it also did somewhat meet my expectations. I didn't really expect to like it all that much, but I didn't think I would hate it. I certainly didn't hate it. It did have some high moments for sure, but it did also have quite a bit of low moments as well. Overall, I'm feeling a C on 12 Carat Toothache. The album has some good moments and some good ideas going for it, but I think that it at times does kind of lose some steam, and also sort of relies too much on the radio-friendly pop collaboration type formula, especially with I Like You and I Cannot Be. But what did you guys think of this album? Of course, I always like to know that, and I always like to know what are some standout tracks for you. And if you haven't listened to the album, I always leave the link in the description box to the album on YouTube, because I think that's like the one thing that we all equally have in terms of like streaming music. Thank you all for watching this video, and just if you watched any of my videos up to this point, thank you. My YTP has like over 2,000 views now, which is freaking crazy. I can't believe it. Oh my god, it's like going up so fast, but it's awesome. I've even gained a few more subscribers, so the channel's going pretty well for me right now. Yeah, so it's good. It's going good. Thank you all. Peace out.